Good afternoon, everybody. Jason Leva here with the Fort Worth Community Arts Center, and I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Boxed Lunch. We have a very special guest with us today, someone who is doing something very near and dear to my heart, which is books, literature. So if you guys would be kind enough to help me welcome Manya Shorr, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing today, Manya?
Hey everyone, thanks for having me. Thank you, Jason, for thinking of us. I'm doing well to my Ryan Place kitchen where I'm going to make tofu egg salad.
Very nice, very nice. All right, before we get into all of our fabulous lunch ingredients and our menu for the day, Manya, you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, just a little introduction and what it is you do?
Sure. So I am the director of the Fort Worth Public Library, which is a department of the city of Fort Worth. I am responsible for running all 15 Fort Worth Public Library buildings, as well as anytime you see us out and about in the community or you interact with the library online, that's all me. So we are thrilled to be thought of as an arts organization and as an integral part of the Fort Worth community. I am not a native Texan. I grew up in Southern California and I've been working in public libraries for about 22 years now. I went from Portland, Oregon to Omaha, Nebraska to Sacramento, California, and most recently I was at the DC Public Library in the District of Columbia. So I got here as fast as I could.
Well, you are a native now because you have that Texas cutting board. So I think
that.
I think that automatically makes you a native, and we're so very glad that you're here, not only in Texas, but also in the Fort Worth area, helping us with what I think is one of the great artistic resources, which again is literature and books. So welcome, and we're so glad and so thankful that you took the time to join us today here on this episode of Boxed Lunch. Speaking of lunch, do you mind telling us a little bit about what is on your menu today and maybe some of the ingredients that you've got there in front of you?
Absolutely. So I have been a vegetarian since I was 18 years old. I read a book called Diet for a New America, which changed my life. I don't even know if it's in print anymore, but it was kind of a more contemporary Claire the Jungle that talked about the way animals are treated in the meat processing industry. And I just couldn't eat meat after that. I took I don't cook very much, but one thing I know is that this mystifies people and they have an immediate negative reaction to tofu. So I thought what I would make today is incredibly simple. It's just a version of egg salad that replaces tofu for the hard-boiled eggs. I have the tofu, which this is a little firm for tofu for egg salad. I also had one that, I'm gonna get a little gross, is a little mushy. This is the sort of Goldilocks of tofu. I couldn't find the one that was just right. So we'll go with the extra firm today. And then from there, it's pretty standard mayonnaise. You can use regular, or if you're vegan, you can use vegan mayonnaise, which, can I just say, the vegan mayonnaise, if you haven't tried it lately, it is incredible. It doesn't even taste like it's vegan. It tastes like regular mayonnaise. Celery, some chopped carrots, some pickles if you like salt. I might throw in a little nutritional yeast, which I pretty much put on everything and think is delicious. And then I'm going to put in some curry powder because I like a little bit of a spicy egg salad. But if you just want it to look like eggs, put in a tiny bit of turmeric and it colors the tofu so it looks like egg salad. And that's pretty much it.
Very nice, very nice. Well, I feel terrible. If I should have done more research. I'm making meatball subs today. So if you'll just bear with me, I apologize. I'll do a special vegan lunch on Friday just for you, I promise. So tune in and we'll see how I do on that as well. So I will say that they are pre-made meatballs. I wish I could say that I stayed up all night slaving away at the stove, but I did not do that. I have some pre-made meatballs, also some pre-made traditional ragu sauce here And then I've also got some mozzarella cheese that I'll put on there a little bit. And I also cheated on my rolls. These are actually hot dog buns, but I did butter them. And then I also put a little bit of parsley and some garlic salt on there.
Ooh,
and I
fancy.
have a secret ingredient as well that I'll share with you whenever I get a little close to my presentation. All right, so while we are starting to get our stuff together here and move forward with lunch, I was wondering if you would talk just a little bit about how your organization, or even yourself as a leader with the library system, has been reacting to or been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Sure. So what I would like to do, if you'll permit me, Jason, is just talk about what's been happening in libraries for the last 20 years. I would say, like every organization on this planet, we were completely changed by the arrival of the internet. And so while people still think of us as a book place, we've really transformed into more of a gathering place. So while books are still an important part of our business, really what we do a lot of the time is create spaces for people to gather, to feel comfortable, to hang out with their community. And then we offer tons of programs that engage people and teach them how to be better human beings. So whether that's a book club, which is very traditional, or something like a crafting hour, we have a knitting club at one of our libraries that was meeting monthly and knitted hats for the homeless. We have lots of programs that sort of help people learn how to do things. Obviously, all of that stopped on May 13th when we closed all of our buildings, but I'm hopeful that we can get back to that, because I think there's almost nowhere left in this country where you can gather with your community without spending money. And that's a really important thing because it allows people from all different backgrounds, all different socioeconomic levels to sort of rub elbows with people unlike them in a way that you don't see anywhere else.
I think that's a great point. I think people lose sight that there's more involvement and community opportunities in a library. And myself have had a lot of great experiences with that. When I was at the Firehouse Theater up in Farmers Branch, they literally had a theater in their building. And so we did a lot of children's theater shows and also some main stage productions up there in Farmers Branch as well. And I've done a lot of children's theater stuff in some library settings in Oklahoma City, and it amazes me how much more there is inside a library building than just books. There's some great programs, and it's wonderful to know that those things are being done here in Fort Worth as well. Did some of your programs go virtual? Have you been able to share that community atmosphere online by chance?
I can't tell you how proud I am of the library staff. So we closed our doors end of day, I think on March 13th. And by March 14th, we'd already transitioned a lot of our programming online. We were anticipating the closure. I mean, I think everyone knew that it was probably coming. So the week and a half before, we were recording videos. And ever since then, we've produced over 100 videos that we broadcast out live. You know, everyone understands, I think, that things aren't actually live, but we have story times for kids. We read books for kids. We do crafting through our website. We've also started a stay-at-home book club on Facebook, which has only been in existence for 2 months and has almost 300 participants. And they're on their 5th book already, I think.
Wow.
So we've moved, we have Spanish conversational classes on Zoom. We have lots of Facebook groups who are trying to gather people. And so we've been trying, and we've learned that we're not going to be able to stop some of these things, even after we open our doors, because people are really loving the opportunity to interact with their community without having to come in the building.
Wow, that sounds like some absolutely fabulous programs. And when we get a little bit further into the interview, I'll make sure and ask how we can find all those things. Before we get to that, I was curious, do you mind talking a little bit about how that preparation works there on your tofu salad sandwiches? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I was gonna put it on a bed of spinach, so more like a salad, but you can put it on pieces of bread if you want, or you can just eat it right out of the bowl. Because I couldn't find the perfect tofu, I grated it because what I'm using is just too firm to be able to crumble. One tip that I learned a long time ago in a class I took, which has served me well, is that don't rely on the manufacturer telling you if it's soft, firm, tofu. What you want to do is you want to look at the protein count. The higher the number of grams, the firmer the tofu. So this one is 14 grams of protein. Too high. I'd rather have around 9. This one, which I'll do it again just to gross people out, is 4. And this you would use if you're going to make things like a sauce, or if you want an egg salad that's kind of watery. I don't know why you'd want that, but if you want that, use a 4 gram. So 14 is a little high and a little firm. So I just grated it on a cheese grater to sort of break it up a little bit as I add the other ingredients.
Wow. So I learned an interesting tip yesterday, and I'm assuming it's true. You know, I don't believe everything that I hear, but as a vegan, maybe you can tell me if this is true or not. I heard that a serving of beans and a serving of rice creates a full protein serving. Is that correct? Do you know about that?
That sounds like something I've heard now. I am not vegan. I'm not nearly cool enough to be vegan. I still eat eggs. I just am fooling you all today because everyone can make an egg salad. So I thought I'd make a tofu salad. Yeah, there's something about a grain and there's a complete protein, but I am not even going to try and touch this. I am not a nutritionist, which is why if you ask me why anyone would eat nutritional yeast, I'm not going to be able to tell you. I'll just say it tastes delicious.
Very nice. Yes, I do know that there is some great assets to that food. I don't always eat meat. I do, but I do know that there is a huge difference in the way I feel after a light meal as opposed to a heavy protein meal. So I need to do better. I need to eat better, and I need to take better care of myself. So I appreciate you pointing those things out, because that's how we learn to change, is by seeing delicious meals and not just hearing about them. So I'm excited to see that final product. It absolutely looks delicious with all of those fabulous ingredients there as well. So while you're prepping that up a little bit, do you mind telling me a little bit about what you have learned about yourself or your organization during this trying time?
So what I've learned about myself is that I don't spend nearly enough time at home. I haven't been completely at home. There's definitely been times throughout the last couple of months that I've had to go in. When we shut our doors, we still had staff in our buildings doing projects. We did a PPE drive. We did a homemade mask drive. So I haven't been completely at home the way that some people have. But this has really afforded me the opportunity to nest in a way that I didn't realize I would enjoy so much. So personally, it's been really nice. And I actually said to the city manager this morning, I said, hey, I'll work from home forever if you'd like. Of course, it's not really realistic, but I'm really, really enjoying it. As for the library, you know, we're very building focused. We always have been. I think our community associates us with our buildings. We associate ourselves with our buildings. We're always thinking about more buildings, and what can we do with our current buildings? And all of a sudden our buildings went away. And we had to dig deep to figure out what that meant in terms of serving our community. And I wasn't willing to accept that we just simply didn't serve our community. So I've been really, really proud of the staff for pivoting and being so nimble. I mean, I think the thing that first of all, people don't think of us as being part of government, even though we are, but they also don't think of government as being nimble. And I think if this whole thing has shown us anything, it's that the library and the city has shown an ability to be nimble, because I never in my life thought I would shut down an entire library system in a couple of days. And then over the course of 2 months, figure out how to offer curbside and programming and then reopen. So folks have been really patient with us, and we've certainly learned that people love us and value us, which is, it doesn't get better than that.
That is absolutely some great information, and I agree. People think the government's very slow, and there are times where action comes a lot quicker than we would normally anticipate. So it's really cool to hear that you guys are doing all that stuff, and more importantly, listening and then responding to the things that people are looking to continue to be able to take advantage of. So now you and I talked a little bit for a second off camera about books and literature being art. And there's a point that I'd like to make sure you get out there. You said you've seen a substantial increase in people reaching out to sources at the library. Can you talk a little bit about that as well? I think that's so encouraging.
There's before this pandemic, it seems like there were two types of people in this world: the physical book people and the ebook people. And there was some overlap, but people really were in their corners. And I would often hear from people, well, I can't read ebooks because I love holding a book, I love smelling a book, I love just the tactile experience. But then all the libraries shut down, and people, even people with money, they don't like to buy a lot of books. I mean, it's just a waste of money. And so they couldn't get to us, and they couldn't get to our collection, and they were forced online to try ebooks in a way that they haven't been willing to try before. And we're seeing a substantial number of people that we're now calling digital converts. So these are people who really resisted ebooks for whatever emotional reason, and who have been forced to try and are enjoying it. And last week, we've had so many new people show up or sign up for cards. It's like double our average daily user increase.
Wow.
Over the last 2 months. So we're seeing double the number of people who sign up for cards and then who download ebooks and e-audiobooks. We had our biggest day ever last week. It was like 3,500 ebooks were downloaded in one day, which is pretty incredible if you think about that happening almost every day. And it takes people, 3 weeks to read a book. So I've been really proud. I mean, talk about being nimble. People have really adjusted to this idea that maybe ebooks aren't the devil.
Well, I said to you off camera, and I'll reiterate this, some of the best art I've ever seen has been in the form of a book, be it an ebook or a practical book that you hold in your hand. And I can't express it enough. There are so many stories that led me to the arts. And I think it's something that is very encouraging to hear that people are going back to that source. And I'd really like to see a prominent rise in that again, because I can't tell you how much literature shaped my life as an artist, and how valuable I think that asset is. So it's great to hear that people are leaning back that way and taking advantage of that art form, because I do believe it is one of the bases of all art. And there's just some fabulous stories out there. And I know that in this day and age, people are leaning a lot to visual art and storytelling. By that, I mean Netflix and movies. And it just seems that not as many people are willing to sit down and engage in their own storytelling mentally from just words on a page. But I have found some fabulous stories, and I just can't say enough about the benefit of reading and how it keeps your mind sharp. And imagination is the best theater I've ever been to. And I don't know if you call me a little senile, but some of the best plays I've ever seen or movies have been in my own head. And I'm not sure what that says about me, but.
Yeah. It says you have imagination. And I think that's the beauty of the printed word, is that it forces you to imagine the picture of what you're reading. And that's so important. And if this, not everyone went home in quarantine, but those who did I think they found themselves with more time than they've had in quite a while. And we really have a culture of busyness, and we value busyness, and that was yanked out from under a lot of people. And I'm really happy that people have rediscovered reading as a way to sort of detox digitally from everything that's around them. And if I could give advice to anyone, it would be, don't read on your phone, don't read on an iPad, get yourself an e-reader that is a standalone e-reader. They have sort of dummy Kindles. The only thing it does is have books on it. And for me, that eliminates all the distractions. And it really is just like reading a book. Do you turn a page? No. But what are you hanging your hat on? Like, reading is reading, and it's so good for people no matter what format they read in.
Yeah, I've seen some of those ebooks, and I've got an older iPad that I can't update anymore. And I think there's even like a physical transformation of the page turning on the graphic, and even a sound that you hear whenever you swipe over. So it's nice to know that those things are available to people. And I think to have that heavy, good book in your hand is just nothing better. And it is a great way to really slow yourself from those outside distractions, and really put you into a place that allows you to focus and again, experience a story, which I think all art is really trying to do, is just tell a story. The medium may be a little different, and it may be more emotional than linear, but there is absolutely nothing better than a good book. I just can't say it enough.
The good news is that for people who are still resisting ebooks, we are starting to reopen. We opened the doors to 3 of our locations last week: Southwest Regional on Hewlin, East Regional off of 30 and Summer Glen, up north off of Basswood. And then next week we'll be opening, I think it's 4 additional locations. And by June 29th, we'll be open at almost all of our facilities with a couple of exceptions. So people can start coming back in if they have a Jones for a physical item.
That is absolutely great. Fantastic news. So how you coming there on your lunch? Looks like you've added a few more ingredients there. Do you want to bring us up to speed on where you're at?
Sure. Well, I'm pretty much done. I put carrots, pickles, salt and pepper, and that's really it. I have a little bowl of spinach here, and I would just spoon some on top, and that would be lunch.
Very
Tofu
nice.
is really high in protein, so it's good for that.
Well, it does absolutely look delicious. So do you mind talking a little bit while you're moving there on your lunch about how you see the arts changing with the current situation? And you spoke a little bit about how you'll carry over some of the virtual programs, even though you're reopening the building. How do you see arts as a whole adapting and moving forward?
You know, a lot of people have been talking about the new normal and what it's going to look like. I think I might be in that minority that hopes we can get back to the gathering that we were doing before and think that it's possible. I think that we're going to have to get to a place where this come back around year after year, just the way other viruses do, and understanding that there's some risk associated with that. So I think it's important for all of us who serve our community to continue to offer things online for people who need that, who feel more comfortable, who consider themselves to be at risk for catching a virus. But that in-person gathering, I think, is unbelievably important. And I do hope that we get back to it. I think there is something very meaningful about being shoulder to shoulder with your community. I think it's how we figure out what's important to us. I think that the protests that we've been seeing across the world in the last week or so demonstrate that as much as people will want to put things on Twitter, that there is nothing that beats coming together in person. And so my hope is that we get back to that even if it's slow, and even if we have to have separation and distancing in place while we do it. But I hope we get back to it sooner rather than later. I hope that by July or August, we are talking about offering programming again, because I just think these civic spaces are so critical for forming strong communities. As much as I love being in my house, I'm not sure I grow as much sitting here as I do visiting the community arts center or visiting the botanic garden. These things are really important to a healthy community.
I could not agree more. Even at 6 feet apart, there's nothing better than being in your community, not just seeing it online, but to actually be able to engage with people in a physical sense really does make a world of difference. You can physically feel a bond when you're sharing it with people in a social setting, and it's something that I agree. I hope we get back to as safely and as soon as we possibly can. So. All right, I know you talked about all those great ingredients, and I heard a couple of tips and tricks there as well. Do you have any secret tips or tricks to ensure deliciousness with that particular meal?
Talk about this instead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So this is my compost bin, and the reason I asked Jason if I could talk about it is because if you're not aware, the city has a new compost program. So I am not a gardener. I have no interest in gardening. Composting is really hard, as those of you who do it know, maintaining the right temperature and all of that. So I don't want to do any of that. But luckily, the city will now take my food scraps for me and compost on my behalf. So if you're not already keyed into this, it's run through the code compliance department. And for $20 a year, you get this giant bin, which is sitting right outside my door. And when this is full, I dump my food scraps in there. And then when that one is full, I drive it a mile from my house down to Fairmount Park. And they have some big containers that I dump my food scraps in. And I have seen my trash waste go down quite a bit because I'm no longer throwing food scraps in the trash. So, I mean, I know I'm the library director, but I can't help but say I love the city. And I think that there's so many hidden gem services at the city that are so important that people about. So if you're into this, if this interests you, take a look into the city's compost program. I'm sure you can find it on the website.
I think that's a great secret tip. I try to compost myself, and I don't have it in front of me, but I've just got a little bitty one. And so I put a lot of my food scraps in there as well. And you're right, it certainly saves on the trash. And I think that people should do more about it. Green is a great way to go. And I think that's a fabulous cooking tip as well. So hopefully some people will take advantage of that. All right, so I think we're going to start moving into prepping our presentation. So while we do that, do you mind talking about what food venue or item are you most looking forward to indulging in whenever you make your way back out into the world?
So I mentioned I'm from California, which means I love a good burrito that you can hold in your hand. None of the Tex-Mex nonsense where it's all plate sauces poured on top of it. I don't know if I can go that far, Texas. So I really, that will be my last meal on earth, will be a good California burrito. So there's so many places in Fort Worth where I can get that amazing burrito. I mean, Salsa Limon being the one that comes to mind, but then there's some great places on Hemp Hill by my house. So I will admit we've been getting those the whole time because they all do curbside and they all do drive-through. And so that's where I'll be going, is to get a great dough.
That sounds delicious. And whenever we're done with the interview, make sure you pop back on to the Facebook feed at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. And if you have a link to them, or even if you just want to put their name down there as well, and then hopefully we can share that and get some other people out to a delicious burrito as well.
Great. And And I'll just mention, so since everyone knows about Salsa Limon, for those of you in the near South Side, if you haven't tried that place, doesn't look like much, but it is delicious. And the family that runs it, they're great. So I would love to see everyone sort of inundate Dos Juanitos on Hemp Hill.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start moving into presentation here, and I'm going to just show you my bread. I toasted that with my great seasoning in there. And my secret ingredient today is prosciutto. So I've got a couple of pieces of prosciutto that I'm just going to lay on the bread there. And then I've been simmering those meatballs in sauce, and I'm just going to throw that on the bread and then put a little mozzarella cheese on there. And then while I'm doing that, you talk a little bit about your presentation and how you put yours together. And then we'll get on with lunch here in just a minute.
So after you eat that, you're definitely going to need a nap. What I have is a bed of baby spinach, and I just dumped some of the tofu egg salad on top. And if you've never tried nutritional yeast, I think it's amazing. It tastes cheesy. You know, if you eat a lot of cheese, you're going to think I'm crazy for saying it tastes cheesy, but I sprinkle it on everything. So I'm going to put a little on top of my egg salad. I also put this on popcorn all the time to make a cheese popcorn. And I've made a vegan cheese sauce with cashews and a ton of nutritional yeast. If you've ever been to the Spiral Diner and had their cheese sauce, they're making a similar thing. So you too can make it at home. So that's it. It's not very fancy. I'm not a fancy eater. I just always need a lot of protein, and I try and force greens down myself to stay healthy. So I'll be going for a bike ride after this while Jason is taking his post-food coma nap.
I call that the sleeper. Yes, there's mine as well. I don't know if it's as healthy, but I promise you it will be delicious. So. All right.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, before we get on with our lunch, I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about how viewers can find your planned activities, the library, and any resource or information that you'd like to share out there. Where can we get a hold of everybody and find out more about the public library?
Great. So like us on as many social media platforms as we're on. I would say Facebook, Instagram are the two big ones. We're on Twitter. We're also on YouTube. But on Facebook in particular, which, you know, this is a pretty Facebooky town. So we do a lot of events on Facebook, and we do a lot of our live programming on Facebook. And then if you want to search our library catalog, find out hours, take a look at what we're doing with our summer reading program, which has just launched in the last week or so, go to fortworthlibrary.org, and everything you need is there.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I can't encourage you enough. Head back over to Facebook and make sure that you share any links, including the compost link and the library links, as well as any of those wonderful food places that you talked about. So any final thoughts? And anything else you'd like to share with the community today?
I guess I would just add that, well, people call the public library free all the time. We're not really free. We're prepaid. You are paying for us with your taxpayer dollars. So if you're not already using your Fort Worth Public Library, you're missing out on the service that you're paying for. So I'd love to see everyone come in, check us out, and see if there's anything that we're doing that's appealing to you. If we're not doing something that you think we should be, I'm going to put my email in the comments. Feel free to reach out directly to me. I'd love to hear from people. Thank you for having me, Jason.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, can you sign up for a library card online if you're not comfortable going into the building?
Absolutely. Yep. You can get an instant library card. As long as you're a Fort Worth resident, you do have to pay property taxes in the city. So as long as that applies to you, you can go to fortworthlibrary.org, sign up for a card, get it immediately, and you can get ebooks, you can get e-audiobooks, you can sign up for the summer reading challenge. You can basically do everything we're offering right now, short of coming in the building.
I think that is a great point, and I also think it's something that not everybody might be aware about. So please get out there and take advantage of your local library. All right, I think that's going to do it for us today. Can I get one more close-up look at your lunch plate there?
Absolutely. Look at
Very
that.
nice. Looks absolutely delicious.
Look at
All right,
yours.
ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, I'd like to again say thank you so much to Manya Shorr from the Fort Worth Public Library System. We're going to have another great episode for you guys on Friday. We will have local filmmaker Adam Dietrich with us. So join us on Friday for another episode of Box Lunch. Make sure you follow us at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center on Facebook and Instagram. We've got some wonderful content on our YouTube channel as well. So check that out. And with that being said, off we go. And bon appetit, Manya. Thank you so much again for joining us. And I am so appreciative for all the great information. And you take care of yourself out there. I'll be at the library very soon.
Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely. Bye-bye, everybody. There you go. Delicious.